Welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Right. Just us tonight. Decade couldn't make it. So Zero, you watched this episode so that you could be able to talk about it. But is this literally the only episode you've seen of Ryusoulger?
Yeah. Um, normally I'd be like, oh yes, new guy. What is your expression? What did you think of the show and the characters? My thing is like, I skimmed the fuck through this episode, so all I know is yeah, they seem like a bunch of decent human beings. Like, the show
Oh, I have
seems a little
some
bit.
news for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a little bit darker than standard Sentai. Like, it seems it's got a little bit of a writer vibe to it. The
It
fights
does.
are really really cool because it looks like the teams actually, they contribute to the mech battles because they're using their own attacks and they're controlling their own weaponry, which is kind of cool. Um,
Uh, and like,
so it looks different than other Sentai, which is kind of interesting.
yeah, it's
At least that's
definitely
my vibe.
standing on its own 2 feet, and like it keeps a more lighthearted tone. So it doesn't get as intense as Shinkenger did. I know you didn't watch that, but that was another Sentai series that was famous for getting dark at times. This one does definitely get dark. Like they had a suicide episode a couple episodes back. But it's still this one keeps more of a lighthearted tone than Shinkenger did.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to get that from this episode because most of the cast is just basically passed out and poisoned. So they're not even doing anything. And when they're acting, it's either like Black, who's like, okay, being like hyper pessimistic, or yeah, I guess pessimistic, but more like pragmatic, where it's like, fuck it, all right, this ain't working out. I'm gonna just take the most straightforward solution. And then the other members are like, no man, you gotta give rely on your team a little bit more, like have some hope and stuff.
Right.
um Whereas Blue and Red, they seem like an interesting pairing. Kind of where it's I mean, it's interesting seeing more writer-esque stuff show up where it's Red's just using power-ups, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're just doing this now. I mean, it's so normal in Rider, but it's pretty rare in Sentai, and just episode what, 6, 7, something like that, and they're
Yeah,
already doing that.
it's going for so Kyoryuger did this same kind of thing where they had a bunch of random power-ups, and because this shows taking some of the more successful aspects of Kyoryuger, it's also incorporating that idea where, all right, so they have a bunch of different one-off gimmick power-ups. Like some are for speed and some are there's one that's really just a fart gas.
That's annoying. I mean, personally, honestly, the one-off powers are pretty good because as long as more than just Red gets them, that means later down in the show, if they ever come back, it'll be more useful. Because Red's gonna get the hyper form, because of course, right? But as long as the mini power ups stay around, at least the other team members could get something else too. That'd be nice. Um, Even if it's just oh, this power up is only good for this episode, I'm like, at least they contributed,
Right.
because sometimes it kind of works in writer sort of because it's a writer show. The main writer gets all the power ups, and the secondaries have their own power ups. But in Sentai, it's usually no, Red gets the power ups, and if you're lucky, the rest of them get one power up shared amongst themselves. That kind of sucks, but I don't know. The show seems to be sprinkling in other shows things where it's um, yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's oh, it's got a little bit of Rider, a little bit of Garo and stuff, and other stuff going on with the like his master and whatnot. Okay, is that actor from something? I feel like I know that guy.
Which character?
Like Red's master.
Uh,
He was in the flashback this episode, right?
yeah. Um,
At first, I'm like, yeah. At first, I'm like, okay,
all
are
right.
you from Garo or something? Then I'm like, maybe writer.
Masaya Kikawada. Uh, he played Takeshi Hongo in the first.
Oh, okay, yeah, he does look different now, but yeah, he's kind of got that vibe.
He's
That's
also
cool.
he's also Motoki Furuhata in Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. um, yeah, that's cool. I mean, returning actors is always awesome. Um, but yeah, when they were training, I'm like, oh, this is like a nicer version of Garo. I'm like, that's nice. Um, oh yeah, you haven't seen any Garo, so you don't
No,
know what the hell I'm
I've
talking about.
been
Because
meaning to
like,
get around to it because it sounds awesome and exactly the kind of show I would love. I just don't have the time.
kinda, it's kinda dry. Like, it's a very interesting world that Garo has. It's just it takes a while to get to it because like it's got really interesting world building shit, but it like you get it in such small chunks throughout like the seasons, so it takes a while to like appreciate all this. Um, like the training shit takes at least like just generally kind of having like an idea of how that shit works takes at least like 2 or 3 seasons to figure out like okay what does like how does one even become like a Makai Knight like okay, yeah, you kind of have to be born into it, sort of, or I mean, you can kind of be adapted. But then, like, well, what do you do? Do you like just start training? It's like no, they have schools, they have like teachers and stuff. There's like different like qualifications and other shit like that, and like there's other sections of like. So yeah, all this other shit takes like 2 or 3 seasons to figure out. Um, like once you know, it's like oh, it's kind of cool, but like yeah, it takes forever to figure that shit out. Um, but back to this episode. Yeah, it just felt like oh shit, the monster is poisoning water and people, and I'm like,
Well,
well, okay,
that
that's
was
like
the
really
plan,
down to
but
earth.
the Ryusoulgers like show up before they actually do it both times they attempt it.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because like I'm like, wow, that's kind of a pretty down to earth plot. Normally it's like, oh, you get turned into whatever, but like I guess it's early on, but then again, they did get infected, and that did have consequences, so that was kind of nice. Again, like I haven't seen the rest of the episode, so I don't know if this is like standard or if this is like just the bottle episode or who knows.
Like things like this like are pretty standard. It's like in the past few episodes, there would be moments where the monster literally just shows up and already like two of the Ryusoulgers are running across a bridge mid henshin to fight it.
That's pretty cool. I mean, they do seem like a pretty,
Like on the job
pretty
kind
fast.
of.
Yeah, yeah, they seem like really fast acting because it's like, oh, they fuck up and they poison, but then like their mech shows up and takes them to, I guess their mentor. I don't know who that character is.
So that character was kind of like so they come from like an ancient temple society. That character is kind of like the Grandmaster or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then like he's giving like his backstory, and then like Blue's like, okay, we don't have time for this. I'm like, oh, that's nice. You actually cut him off. So I'm like, that was kind of nice. So yeah, like even like I didn't really get too much personality from any of the characters, but like even still, like everybody kind of still had like a little moment to shine. Like
Oh.
like I literally have no idea what anybody's personal. Like I feel like Red is just generic good guy.
Yeah, so the problem with Red is that, like, when I looked at him, I went, cool, we're getting another Marvelous. But then he opened his mouth, and I went, okay, so you're like a silly kind of red, not a serious red. But he looks like a serious red whenever I look at him.
Yeah, when I was looking, I'm like, wow, this actor seems a little older than the standard Reds. Um, but then I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen the episode, so I don't know. But yeah, it seemed interesting. And then like Blue, I guess, because like lately Sentai has this thing of like, oh, we put in like one extra member who's like a weirdo. Um, so I'm guessing that's Blue because like Naga was probably like super successful and like
Yeah,
yeah, I mean
Blue is like
yeah,
the
go ahead.
oddball right now because he has no personality, and so far the way that's kind of like being portrayed is that he looks at things more objectively. So like when they first find their mechs, Red kicks off the trend of like, hey, I'm gonna give it a name, and Blue and Pink find theirs, and Pink is like, hey, I'm gonna name mine this one, and then they look at Blue expectantly, and Blue goes, why would I do that?
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like does kind of give up the more logical kind of vibe, but I'm like, that's just kind of a given. He's a
Like,
blue,
like no
you
joke.
know.
Later that episode, Pink ends up being the one to give Blue's mech a name.
That's funny. Um, and then I feel like the only thing I really know about like Green is he's Black's brother. That's all I
Yes.
know. Yeah, and then
Green
like
is like the
and then
child of the group.
yeah, makes sense. I mean, it does seem like they're hitting like all the general like Sentai like groups where it's like, oh, Pink, she's the girl, but she's not defenseless, so we'll give her super strength.
She's not even
She's one
like
of the quirky.
she's
Yeah, go
quirky,
ahead.
but she's not airheaded.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, you didn't put a yellow female ranger, so you just combine the yellow and pink archetypes into one character, which I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You know, at least she's not generic, so that's good. Um, and then like blue, like it's the typical like cold, logical character that we've kind of gotten lately.
And
Or
Black is
plus
like
the
the
weirdo.
overly serious one.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
Like
Black is clearly just the
like
like, well, this guy should be the leader, but like his personality is not conducive to a good whole working group,
he's like
basically.
mad at his dad or something.
Yeah, I don't know. And like Green, yeah, clearly just seems like the kid. I mean, I don't even know that much, but I mean, it's an interesting mix.
Yeah,
Um,
it creates like an interesting image of what kind, because we got a wide range of personalities here. So what kind of personality are they going to give the six? And I'm thinking that like Red he's silly, but he's not like overly goofy. So I'm expecting to get like a pretty goofy kind of sixth member.
yeah, I was thinking that was gonna go for Green, but like it's possible. Well, it depends on how many extra members they add, right?
Uh,
Um,
well, based off of scans, so far we're only looking at a sixth member. We don't know how far into Kyoryuger territory they're stepping.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, to be fair, like they've released like freaking third quarter scans or something, like episode 3 or 4. Like, what is even going on at Toei? So yeah, I'm pretty sure like the fan base knows exactly how many people are showing up, but I don't
Uh,
know.
Also, before this series aired, Sentai took like a little break from official series and did their own little like Heisei era tribute called Super Sentai Psycho Battle, where they got some recent veterans and then some older veterans to make cameos and such. Uh, and in it, like Green and Black from this show also appeared to kind of tease Ryusoulger, and it had two main villains, and one of those villains, he kind of looks like a evil Ryusoulger. Like that's what his suit looks like.
That's an interesting way of doing it. I mean, then again, Toei has this thing of like, if you're gonna put in like tie-in episode thing, they tend to lead into stuff. I mean, it'd be cool, but it could just also just be a prototype shoot. But it'd be really interesting if it actually ties back in.
Yeah,
Um,
because so what it is that like it's a cursed armor, and its story in the battle was that it was possessing past Sentai members to like be its user because they were strong. And then
Oh, nice.
at the end, like the main villain, who's a kind of a throwback to Rita Repulsa, intentionally wears it and she has control over it.
Huh, cool.
And then
I
after,
mean,
oh,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say after they defeat her, like the suit blows up, but then when everyone walks away, an unknown character comes up and picks up the helmet.
I mean that's either the movie or their Sixth Ranger right there.
I
Um,
don't think it's the sixth, but like definitely movie potential.
that's cool. That's cool. I mean, that sounds like a really fun setup. Um, yeah. I don't know. I mean, like the show seems interesting. Like the mech battles look nice, man. Like it looks like they actually have money,
What
for once, or at least just the paint jobs are not absolutely ridiculous, and the mechs don't look like just blocks.
they're also going,
Uh,
which is funny because the mechs are like Lego themed.
are they for like what,
Well,
like the fourth, fifth time? Like how many
like if you look
bricks are
at
they?
them, like you can
Oh,
when the
yeah.
pieces connect together, you can see how they kind of have that like Lego like connecting aspect.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes.
Uh,
But I mean, the cockpits look really nice.
the cockpits look
Like
nice,
just
and
yeah,
the
because I
choreography.
especially yeah, I especially like the lights whenever on the sides when like they're doing stuff, and it's just like, oh, it's the ranger in the middle, and then mirrors and their color. I'm like, oh, that's super cool.
And the choreography for the mech fights is like taking a more realism aspect to it too. Like the mech fight from the very first episode, like I'm pretty sure he does like a leg sweep or something.
Yeah, what the hell is this Ultraman now?
Kind
That'd
of.
be pretty cool actually.
Uh,
Um,
Speaking of Ultraman, that older
yeah.
character, like the mentor guy, I went to look
Hmm.
up his official title. He's some kind of elder, but his official role is unclear. His actor, however, Jiro Dan, played Hideki Go as Ultraman Jack.
Nice. Um, that is interesting. I mean, there have been so many freaking Ultraman, like so many Tokusatsu actors have played him, so that's cool. I mean, but again, like yeah, it's nice to get like veteran Tokusatsu actors back. Um, yeah, I mean, like again, we're kind of just getting sidetracked. I guess going back into the fights, like the one thing I don't like is like the sword is cool where it's like, okay, put the thing in the sword and like just push the backside. I'm like, oh, that's cool. What I don't like is them having to press it over and over and over again. Like I thought the drive shit was bad where they had to do it 3 times. Like this was what, like 5 plus in one scene. That was
Yeah,
fucking trash. I'm like, that is just too much. Like freaking build ticks me off. This is like beyond drive levels, which is even worse. I'm like, oh my god.
at
I mean, I
least
like the. I don't know if it was just because he put in the speed power up, where it's like he puts it in, and like whenever he's putting it in, like the enemy is attacking, but their attack gets slowed down. I don't know if it was just because of the speed one, or it's just showing like, oh no, the heroes are just reacting so fast that
that
like you
that
have
was
to
probably
show the
just because it was
viewer.
the speed one.
Yeah,
Up till now,
I
like
actually,
most of the times when they put one in, it's just doing a shot of them standing there doing it, and no one is hitting them.
yeah, that was kind of lame. I actually thought that that was their thing. It's like they're kind of doing like a Metal Hero thing where it's like they're just slowing it down for normal people to see because the actors are just reacting so fast. I'm like, oh, that's a cool touch. That explains why they're not getting hit because they're just doing it so damn fast. But then like later on for the second power up, they just stand there and nothing happens. I'm like, oh, this is
Like,
lame.
it's clearly like just for show to like sell toys. Because reasonably, there's no reason why they would have to do it more than once.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just jarring because like the speed one was so cool, and then like later on, it's like, oh no, we're just back to standard like Toei, power up stuff, which takes forever and nobody attacks. Which I'm like, ah, that's kind of lame because the rest of the show seemed a little more grounded, so that's cool. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess we can just what is it? Talk about like the villains. Um, so there's like the smaller one who's like sending out monsters. That's an
Creon.
interesting design. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that character seems like he's gonna become like mid-season or late-season boss character for damn sure. Or turn good, unlikely, but possible too.
yeah, like he very much like makes me think of Lucky Roo, but uh, unlike Lucky Roo, I'm not entirely sure I can see this guy becoming good in the end because Lucky Roo is just kind of childish in playing his part, whereas Creon actively like is trying to be a villain.
Yeah, then I'm just thinking he's just gonna be like a power up and become the villain later on. Which, I mean, at least they're setting something up. And then the other villainous character, I have nothing to say. They're just generic villain dude. I mean, they look
Tank
kind of
Joe.
cool, but yeah.
Yeah. So well, one thing this show has been doing is kind of been going through ongoing plot lines. Uh, so like episode 1, you meet the Ryusoulgers. You meet like Green and Black graduated already before the start of the series, so they already went out and started traveling on their own. And then episode 1, Red, Blue, and Pink graduate. And it's like, all right, you're Ryusoulgers now. And then Tank Joe and Creon attack, and like Tank Joe just straight up kills Red's mentor right in front of him.
Oh man, that is fucking rough. This sounds so. Well, actually, I haven't seen it. Fuck, so many ninja sentais. Hurricaneger, yeah. I haven't seen Hurricaneger, but like, I remember like this is very similar to like Ninja Steel, or not Ninja.
Ninja Storm.
Ninja Storm. Yeah, fucking.
There's so many ninjas.
I know, on both sides, it's so annoying. Like Sentai is even worse because there's like what, like I was thinking Ninja, I'm like, no, that's wrong, and then Hurricane, I'm like, maybe, because then I'm like, no, it's like Kaku Ninja, I'm like, no, that's the '90s one, that's not right. Yeah, this is the problem not being a Sentai fan and doing a Sentai podcast because I'm like, I have no idea most of the time. Well, I kind of
ask any questions.
Yeah. But it kind of reminds me of like Ninja Storm, where it's like they have to graduate to basically get their ninja powers. Because like Ninja Storm is like they just have the academy, which because they have powers in human form in Ninja Storm. That's why I mean the reason they have powers is because they go to the freaking Ninja Academy, right? So they get trained how to use that. But that's what I'm thinking. It's like, oh right, you kind of have to be graduate to get like basically to get the actual power ups that they get, like to become the Rangers and stuff. But like an attack happens at the beginning of the show, and so they end up getting the power ups. So it just seems similar to that, which I mean that's normal. Like usually in a Sentai setting. Well, it usually tends to happen in a Sentai setting because writer settings usually don't have like part over an organization type thing. But like, like your dojo gets attacked or whatever, and then the remaining students kind of have to become like the new team or whatever, or like your scientific institution or whatever gets attacked and like the remaining members. So like this is a standard Sentai trope anyway.
Right. Like
but that's cool.
They graduated, so they're officially Ryusoulgers, but then their mentors all straight up die in front of them, and now they're alone.
Yeah, that is fucking rough, man. I mean that's one hell of a way to start a show.
Honestly.
Yeah. Like it kind of explains the darker tone that like Black has going for it, but I'm like, But then you're saying like Red is kind of a goofball. I'm like, okay, unless they have addressed that, like it's gonna be weird.
So he's kind of silly in casual settings, but he is completely serious when it's in combat. Like he when his mentor straight up killed right in front of him, he does the trope thing where like he gets a power surge because he like his spirit gets stronger. So like I'm not gonna let my master die in vain and die as well. I'm gonna get out.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually if you're kind of gonna have like a more comedic character, I would prefer that mix where it's like they know when to turn it off, especially in combat, because it's like that's one of the annoying things about Lucky that most people don't like. It's like he never shuts the fuck up. It's always like Deus Ex Machina mode with him, and he's always kind of a goofball.
And you see it here
Right?
as well, where Red like he's poisoned. He can't really fight. He can't even activate his powers, and he still just like lets the monster come up and butt him to just rip one of the fangs out by hand.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, holy shit! Like, no human can do that, but I'm like, fuck it, it's Sentai Land. Um, but I'm like, okay, that was a pretty badass way of doing it. I mean, like, maybe not the smartest plan, but like, I guess it
Right?
worked. So it's pretty much a standard Red plan, or I guess any main rider plan. I guess at that point, unless you're like one of the super smart ones. But then again, you usually don't end up being the lead if you're that kind of guy.
So like
Uh,
episode one, their mentors die, so they're on their own now, and uh, Ray discovers like his mech, and then episode two, like they meet. Well, they in episode one they meet this girl who like has her own YouTube channel, but she has no followers. And so like episode two, they run to her again. She like takes them to her dad, who's an archaeologist who knows about dinosaurs and stuff, and it's like, hey, can we live here if we work? It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they like go and they use his like research notes to find where their other like mechs are hidden.
that's that's pretty hilarious. I mean, I guess like VTubers are like super huge in Japan, so I guess it makes sense why like all characters just have something attached to YouTube. But the whole like using his dad's that's so like a fucking like what is this, something on a blade at this point. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of like I was gonna say Tokujo, not Tokujo.
Like
Shit. The
uh,
cube one.
Cube, Duoger.
The Duoger. Yeah, it's kind of like a Duoger type thing. Where it's like they're just kind of helping out Yamato. I mean, Yamato most of the time.
Oh,
Well, I guess that's not a good comparison, but
okay. So
you
in
know what I mean.
Go Seiger, uh, the Go Seigers are straight up angels from heaven that are trapped on Earth because the villains destroyed the bridge between heaven and Earth. So they're literally the only. They're still rookies, but they're literally the only ones who can protect the Earth right now. Uh, and Red Super gets found out by this little kid whose dad is an astrologist. And so he takes them to his dad's like, hey, these people are looking for work.
And it actually works out. That's pretty awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, I've that's one of those seasons which gets like a lot of bad press, but it's like
It
I don't know. I
it's
feel
very
like it seems
mild.
solid enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, it's definitely like worth watching once. It's a very mild series though, and it won't get you like as excited as Shinkenger or Go Kaiger on both ends of it.
Yeah, I think that's its biggest problem too. It just came in the middle, right?
Yeah, it came in
So
between
like the
two of the
hype
best
just killed it.
Sentai.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
it's still like
I th-
a good series. It's just it has nothing to really stand out.
yeah, I feel like it's sort of the I was gonna say wizard, but I'm like,
No,
maybe, I guess. Like,
not really.
it's the closest comparison. I mean, maybe. Well, I was gonna say ghost, but it's like
So okay, so
it's it's
Goseiger
like
Goseiger may
yeah,
be bland, but that's its only problem. Like, there's nothing bad about the show. It just doesn't have anything special about it.
yeah. I guess yeah. Well, I guess technically, it's like in the same boat as like Kiva was for a while, where it's like nothing's happening. Like if you're not into the characters of Kiva, it's like this is generic writer show. I mean, it's not really generic writer show, but if you're not into the characters and you're just here for the writer shit, it's Kiva's writer stuff is just like, okay, well, here's a monster, go fight, you know. Um, but like, I think like a lot of people have started to appreciate it a little bit more because it's like, yeah, the character stuff is really good in Kiva, but like it.
So back to Ryusoulger. Uh, so like at the end of episode 2,
Wait. Oh,
oh,
no, we're back up. It went down, and now we're back up.
oh, okay. So like at the end of episode 2, like they agree to stay with Ui, and they're like, and Red's like, hey, maybe we'll meet those other 2 Ryusoulgers that went off on their own before us. And then like the Creon, like, because he makes, so the way the monsters are made are it's basically X-Aid. Like, the host is like infected and it creates the monster, and like the monster is still like damaging the user. Uh,
Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking more like that sounded a little bit more like O's, but you're right. X8 definitely.
it also has
needs
some
to know
O's
that.
aspects in it. So with
Yeah,
so like how it works is that it has the X8 aspect of like the users being infected and the monster is born from them. But then it has like the O's aspect of that monster's desire is whatever the like target wanted, and so like one monster was born from a guy that like wanted to be a fencing champion, and so the monster will like go around attacking fencers.
yeah. I mean, like to be fair, that's one of the like. Yeah, that does sound a little bit more O's ish. I mean, I guess like technically, yeah, O's had that too, where it's like you just put in the coin, the metal, and then like the yummy would come out, and then they would fully mature and become the monster and stuff. But um, that's not a slight against this show because I feel like that's one of the best like ways of creating monsters you can have because like okay, what do you want? Okay, I want this thing, right? Infect person with this thing, it creates this interesting villain, right? Like it's such a good like okay, it's not a good like villain plotline where it's like, oh, this gives the character like the heroes a lot of like, you know, like emotional like storylines where they have to like really face down a villain, stuff like that. But it's more a really good plot device for just like generic monsters. So like yeah, I can see this being a good thing because then you could just like be like, okay, here's the actual people with plot. Um, but we have to beat monsters week to week, right? So it's a good like. I mean, that's kind of the reason that O's works so well is because it has like the yummy monsters where it's like, all right, they're all different and they're all just born from the desire of their host, but then you get the greed and they're all really interesting because they're all freaking weirdos um, who are trying to become complete, but they're all doing it their own way, and they all
Like they all
have
have
their
their
own like
different desires.
yeah, exactly. They all have their different desires. They all have like super different personalities. Like some give a shit about what happens to the monsters they create. Some just don't care at all. So it's like they're like really interesting, like long running villains, and then like the yummies are really good like week to week villains. So it's a really good structure. Um, and if the show is using something like that, that's really good too, because like as long as they put some really good villains later on, like it'll keep because it keeps the show interesting. Because sometimes when you put like, okay, this is the plot line of the villain organization, then it kind of becomes boring because it's like, all right, we know there's like 40 plus episodes, so like most of this is just like their plans failing horribly. Or if there's one that gets really close, then you're like, okay, why didn't they just redo this, but add like this other element?
Mm.
Whereas in this case, it's more of like kind of more of a randomness. So like they're creating monsters, but they don't like fully control exactly how the monster functions. So it kind of gives you a little bit more leeway where it's like, okay, yeah, they're a threat, but like it's not stupid every time you defeat the villain, because it's not like what are you thinking, villains? Because the villains are like, all right, I'm just making monsters, yo, So if you defeat them, whatever, I'll just make some new ones. It's not like putting their plans back anywhere. It's just like normally when you beat like a villain who has like, okay, this is our end goal, and you keep beating them over and over, it puts them back. Whereas in this situation, it just resets them back to where they began. So they're not taking too far, like they're not getting pushed back too far this way. That's a good setup for long running. So.
Right. Currently, the villain team, the Droidons, we have seen two members, and they're the two that you see in this episode. The Creon, who's making the monsters, and Tangjo, who's just the big tough guy.
I mean, that... Well, it's really early on, so I guess it's a good thing
like
to not show like all of them.
We don't have like a big commanding general at the top of the ladder yet. Like, we're looking at two guys who are just tackling this together, and it looks like starting next episode's like they're going to introduce another one, and we're going to see where that takes us. Like, we don't know if there's an actual organization here, or if it's just a bunch of guys that are like coming into play.
Yeah, which is a interesting mix, like especially because I mean, it depends on like how, like what the actual backstory of the Sentai is, because like yeah, they could just be like misfits or outcasts or people that like the like organization that the Sentai team was from fought against over time, and they just were like, fuck it, we're attacking the academy or whatever. So they're all separate, in which case then you kind of get into god damn it,
what?
The freaking treasure hunting one.
Oh, Bokenger.
Yeah, Bokenger situation. Where it's like, you have like teams, like different teams.
Oh yeah, like they had like 4 villain teams.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But if they also organize, that'll be fine too. Where it's like, well, where the hell are they? I mean, it depends. Like, are there more like Sentai training team or schools or whatever? I mean, then you could just give the excuse of, well, there were like the rest of the members were participating in like different operations somewhere,
Well, like the backstory that we have for the Droidons is that they were on Earth around the dinosaur times and then fled when the meteor like showed up. So like if you try to connect all the dinosaur Sentai histories together, the timeline that I have come up with was that you have Bandora the witch, who became evil and tried to wipe out the dinosaurs. But you have to, like, I don't know if it's ever explicitly stated that she succeeded, so if you assume that she failed and gets sealed away, then you have the Droidons who come in and they try to do their thing, but then the Daeboth army from Kishiryu shows up, and the Droidons get scared and bail. The Daeboth army succeeds in wiping out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess this is one of those like um, Agito, Kuga, like freaking Origins of Man situation from Rider that we have. It's like, yeah, we have so many like freaking or Blade also like origin things that like you can kind of make your own timeline now. That's kind of cool actually. If the Sentai ones actually line up like that, that'd be pretty
Uh,
awesome.
uh,
Um,
and like it makes sense
yeah,
too because the characters when they're like talking about the Droidons leaving and the meteor coming, they just envision like a meteor coming to Earth that the way like a normal person would expect it because like normal people would know that like the meteor was actually like a monster that was just part of an army of aliens.
yeah, right. Like that's pretty interesting too. Um, Yeah, I mean it's kind of similar to some of the like Ultraman plots where it's like, oh, that's a meteor. No, no, it's not. It's a freaking monster. Or well, it depends on like how lived in um which Ultraman timeline you're in because sometimes it's like, oh shit, it's a meteor. No, it's a meteor shower. I mean, it's like, no, it's not a meteor shower. It's a herd of aliens moving through the solar system. It's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like yeah, this is one of those like weird things, and like depending on which Ultraman you watch, so, like um, I think in like Mebius it happens where it's like, oh, like one of the like monsters of the week is just like a swarm of monsters are just like flying through, like a herd of them are just flying through the solar system, and one like just gets knocked off course into the Earth, and then Ultraman has to beat it. It's like, yeah, normally these things are fairly benign because like they're not going to come out of the way to attack the Earth, but like if it just crashes onto the fucking planet, right? Like it's a giant monster. It doesn't matter what you do or what it does, it's gonna wreak havoc, right? So you're gonna have to take care of it. Um, I
Uh,
think they actually end up sending that one up or something. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, um, it's one of those interesting things in Mebius because Mebius is such a like combined like anniversary show where it's like you get like cool stuff like that where it's like, yeah, this is like a world that's been dealing with all this weird alien shit for a while. So it's like a known fact, like, well, not like the normal humans don't know, but like the organizations who are protecting the Earth know. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't attack them or anything. They're just flying through the system. They're just migrating.
like
Um, yeah, that's
to like further like tie it in with the Sentai, like after the Daybot army wipes out the dinosaurs, like they go into hibernation. And so like uh, tw- yeah, like 25 or 6 years ago, like okay, Bandora's like seal is broken. She wakes up. She sees the dinosaur gone and goes, "Cool. Now to work on the second thing I hate the most: children." She fails and gets sealed away again. And then like seven
oh man, that's great.
And like seven
Um,
years ago, the Daybot army wakes up from hibernation and goes, "What are these humans? Let's go kill them now." And fail, and like their leader gets blown the fuck up.
this is great because I'm just thinking, oh, failed. I'm like, Pandora failed. I'm like, what? Are you like a Were you like the fourth evil person, like priest person from Black? Because they also had this weird thing of like, yeah, they've been in hibernation since like dinosaur times or whatever. Because like Black works on like a cycle, like a 50,000 year cycle, where it's like the next like every time like the next person becomes like the Black Sun, or well, not the Black Sun, but like inherits the like basically like the energy, like basically the energy that Shadow Moon got, right? Like it gets stronger, like it basically doubles in strength. So like one or two more times, and it'll be strong enough to conquer the galaxy.
Oh,
So yeah, it's one of those weird things where it's like you can technically slot in like Kamen Rider Black into the Sentai timeline and like other weird shit with Rider and stuff too. So it's fun. Um, Actually, Garo has a lot of fucking backstory too, but like I have no idea because it's not like the origin stuff is more in the anime and stuff, so I haven't really seen it. Um, but like, oh, actually, it's in the miniseries too with the dragons and stuff. So like, if we really wanted to, man, that would be one hell of an insane timeline, slotting together like Sentai Rider and like
Right.
Garo and stuff.
So like
Ultraman too, because of alternate universes.
so
Because
like
actually, technically, on if you wanted to count it, like you could say like Ultraman, what is it like next or something, could happen on normal Earth because it would just happen in the 90s. Because in that one, there's only one Ultraman on Earth, and it was just the one that happened there. Um, yeah, go ahead.
like word spreads throughout the galaxy or universe or whatever, and like the Jordans here, like, hey, the Daybot army is gone. They're not on Earth anymore. And it's like, hey, sweet. And so now the Jordans are back on Earth. Like, it would explain why they come back.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, it would make sense because like a lot of evil organizations show up on Earth, and like you see that like the Decker Ranger and like the space sheriffs and all that have to deal with all that shit, and like all the news spreads all over the galaxy basically. So like, yeah, it's not inconceivable that they would hear about it and come back.
All right. Uh, so, wow, we got off topic. Uh, so like, episode 3, Ui, the girl that like gave like befriended the Ryusoulgers and gave them a place to live with her father. Uh, the monster is made from her that episode. She's the host, and this is go on.
Yeah, they got that out of the way pretty quick.
Yeah, but this is also like Black and Green's introduction, and like they see like, oh, she's the host, and then Black pulls out his sword and is like ready to just fucking end her. They're like, what are you doing? And he's like, if we kill her, the monster goes away, and more people won't be killed by the monster.
Wow, that's like they must have gone through some shit.
That's
If
what
this is like,
that's what we're theorizing. We think they may have lost their parents or something.
yeah, or I mean, like, I guess that does make sense. I was thinking more like they went on the journey and they're like they lost. They tried to save people, but they lost too many, and now they're like, fuck it,
Like,
ends justify the means.
like
But yeah, the parents thing also makes way more sense.
right, like this doesn't solve the problem. Like, killing her will make this one monster go away, but the Jordans can just make more. And so, like, the other real soldiers, like, they just argue, like, you can't do that, it's morally wrong. None of the... I was hoping that one of them would make one argument, though, that none of them did, which was, who are you going to save after you've killed everyone?
Right? Or the other argument is like, okay, great, you saved them for the monster. How many are you gonna kill trying to save people? And
Yeah,
at
that's
which
like...
point does it turn? What point does it end up being like you've just helped the villains because you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many, like, if you just kill whoever the host is, like, they're just gonna make everyone the host. How, like, who are you going to save after you've killed everyone?
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting plot point. I mean, like, maybe that's one of the things. It's like, I guess that's why like I like Amazon so much. Is because like, no, it fully runs with the idea of like it doesn't fucking matter how black and white or bullshit you thought it was. Like, no, we're gonna talk about like all sides of this, and it's all gonna be fucked up. You're just gonna have to deal with it.
And it's not...
Where it's like there's no clean answers, but it's like, you know, you want to be the good guy, but like, you know, there's costs and stuff, and like like Sentai and writer tend to bring up like these really interesting points of like, okay, what happens if a villain actually fucking did this? And like you actually had to have that conversation of like, okay, right, like numbers, right? Or individuals, or like, how much damage are you doing playing hero and all
Right.
that shit.
Like it's not Ryuki where killing Yue would have ended the Rider War because there was no reason for her to exist without her.
Yeah, kind of, but that's still fucked up. And
It is.
like, yeah, I mean, fuck, like even when they find out, like everybody's like, what? This is crazy. We're not going to kill her. Even though that would have been like the safe solution. Because like, yeah, even the people fighting to the death are like, we're not killing innocent people. Um, I don't know, man. Ryuki's interesting. Apparently that new special is super rushed though.
I can see that.
So
Like you're trying to cover the plotline, or effectively the plotline of Ryuki in 3 episodes.
well, they're not doing Ryuki. They're kind of just doing another alternate universe.
Right.
Ryuki or
I get
something.
that. It's just like you have no time to like set up these characters before you have to kill them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I actually have no idea because I haven't started it
Same,
yet.
but like I can understand why it would come off as rushed when you look at the actual Ryuki series.
Yeah, like Ryuki is one of the few ones you can't rush. Like if you want an example, watch the Ryuki movie. Like it's an okay movie, but like it doesn't really do the characters. Like they come off okay, but like they're nowhere as nuanced as they are in the
Like
show.
in that movie, you if you haven't seen the series, you don't understand why Oja is so fucking strong and a contender to win.
Right, exactly. And then the other thing is like it's weird because like Godspeed and not Godspeed Love, Paradise Lost. Uh, yes, hello Sentai people who have no idea what writer movies are called.
Welcome to any
So-
Sentai podcast with Zero, where we talk about Rider instead.
Hey man, I know writer, so I'm just comparing writer. But like Pfizer's movie, Paradise Lost, is a really good movie. It's probably like the best writer movie ever made. I mean, it's questionable now because there's some seriously good movies that have come out lately, but still, it's like one of the best. But the thing is, like, you could condense all of Pfizer's characterizations or like all the major characters into one movie. You can't do that with Ryuki. It just does not work. There's just too many characters, just too much plot going on.
They tried with
And it's
the
not
13 Riders TV special, and like
God,
half the
that's
writers got
terrible.
shafted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that's one of the greatest things. I mean, I think that's why we like Ryuki so much, is because, like, it's got so much, like, out of suit stuff that you just don't get in most other shows. But, like, again, that means you can't condense it.
Right.
Right. What the hell were we talking about?
Ryusoulger.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, what point?
We were talking about the moral implications of killing one person to save more
yeah.
people.
Yeah, right. And Amazon's is one of those like Kamen Rider. Not Kamen Rider Amazon is a show. Was an original Showa show. It was the shortest run. Kamen Rider Amazons was Amazon's Prime special. It had 2 seasons and a movie. So we're talking about the 2 seasons and a movie. Yeah, so that show is really interesting because it just delves into the thing of like, okay, fine, these things are made. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? Are you allowed to just murder these people? You know? Can you profit off them? Like, how much sympathy would normal people actually have? You know, like, right? Like, it's interesting. because it kind of just runs the full gauntlet. And then you go and read the forums, and people are like, "Yes, that character was right to murder them, because they're just monsters who eat people." I'm like, isn't this whole show about like showing that these things aren't just monsters? They're just people, right? Like, oh my god. Which kind of saddens me because like sometimes like tokusatsu shows have really interesting nuance points, but like the fandom just kind of goes for, "Ah, that looked cool," or they just get the broad strokes of, "Yeah, I don't like that guy. They deserve to die." And I was like, don't do that."
Uh,
Anyway, yeah,
yeah,
but
so
like if something we wanted from like more of a tokusatsu show, where it'd be like, you know, at least like half the time they're out of suit and like full moral involvement, I doubt they could freaking air it at like, um, in the time slot for like kids, which is what like Toei's tokusatsu shows run at now, right? Like Sunday morning. Like I don't think they could do that, um, if they were trying to do a show that like we wanted. Anyway.
sorry. Uh, so like the monsters may have heard, right, being the good guys, like, now we'll save everyone, we just have to go and defeat the Minosaur. And like Ui overhears them talking about how her death would just stop the monster right away. And like she contemplates killing herself.
Holy shit, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, like so
Yeah, that is harsh.
so like in the middle of the night, like she sneaks away and she like says goodbye to her like sleeping father or something. And like the next morning, Pink is like, "Hey, where is she?" And he's like, "I don't know. I guess she stepped out. Hey, maybe she went to this quarry where she likes to go sometimes." And like, yeah, Pink goes and finds her at the quarry, but this time she's like contemplating jumping.
Fuck. Yeah, that sounds fucking rough. Like it's. I mean, I feel like there's been plot lines like this in other tokusatsu shows, but it's been a while.
Like, so Pink,
Yeah, like the last one I think I remember is the one from Wizard, where it's like Nito's grandma.
Oh,
have you seen Wizard?
Right, yeah. So yes, I did. Right, she knows that like if a phantom is born from her, then Nito can eat it and live. So like she considers like just straight up sacrificing herself for him.
Yeah, because she doesn't realize that like once that thing's made, it's gonna do more damage. But anyway, yeah, that's a really interesting two-parter. It's actually really fun and then really sad and then really awesome. So it's like a really good two-parter. But yeah, this show, that's actually pretty interesting, especially this early on. Then again, maybe they're doing like an O-Ranger thing of like it's gonna be serious at the start and then comedy for the rest of it. I don't think so, but I hope not.
Like, Pink gives her like a talk like, "Hey, we're your friends. We don't want you to do this. You have like she gives her like a pretty like encouraging talk of like, "Hey, there's no reason for you to do this. Nothing it will be gained." And like Pink is the only one that like is doing this because the others are off fighting the monster. It's like, yeah, they're off doing that right now. Like you don't need to do this.
Okay, so it's funny. You're like, "Oh, Pink did this," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, she did," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm thinking of freaking Flashpoint because the Pink Ranger is like one of the leads in that show, and she literally has this episode." So yeah, that was pretty funny. Anyway, that's awesome that they're like actually taking the time to like discuss this because like eventually you're gonna run into like one person who's like, "Yeah, I don't fucking, it's my life or like other people getting hurt. Like fuck that." You know, like they'd at least consider it. So that's interesting that they did it so early on.
Yeah.
Um,
So like
yeah.
they defeat the monster, right, and they save her. And then Green and Black like Green and Black don't have their mechs yet, and so they wanted to defeat the monster before it grew big. But then like they see the others have their mechs, and they go, "What shit? We need to get ours too."
I mean, at least they had a good point where it's like, well, we have to beat it before it becomes big. Like, I
Yeah.
wonder if we're ever gonna get into that Sentai episode where they like just beat the monster and it doesn't become big. Like, unlikely, but like.
Yes, Jew
least
Ranger or Power Ranger Season 1, the pig monster.
So there's literally like
There-
two in like what, like
That's the only
40
one I can
years?
think of, but
yeah.
it's the pig
Ah,
monster.
It's great.
No other way to put it, it's a pig.
Mhm.
So that does give context to why Black would be willing to like kill a person, because if they can't defeat the monster, because he didn't realize that like, hey, we have the mechs to defeat it. This doesn't change his philosophy though, as we see. It's like, so in like the next episode, Red like he takes like the map that Ui's dad has. It's like, hey, Green and Black, I can help you find your mechs if you become our comrades. And Green is just like, how's about I beat you in a contest and take the map myself? And so they just start doing like, because Red doesn't want to actually fight him, so they just start doing things like rock paper scissors, or like cutting leaves into shapes with their swords and stuff. And they just start doing this like friendly rivalry thing, and as it goes on, Green just like starts getting into it, like he's legitimately having fun.
I mean, he is younger, but that is pretty cool. Yeah, that's an interesting way of like getting the dynamic going, because it's like, okay, you can beat them, but like beating people and making them join your team is not conducive to like a stable, team dynamic.
Right.
At least like befriending them seems
Like
a
that was
better
my
choice.
thought. Like Green clearly thinks he's going to win here, but what if he loses? Is he actually going to be their comrade?
Probably not, but I mean, I don't know enough about Green, so I can't tell.
During like a fight against the monster, their competitiveness like starts getting more interfering. But then like they actually like work together at the end of it to get Green's mech. And so Green like is clearly shown to have a new respect for Red and is more willing to actually like be his comrade.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's always good to have like a storyline of how you get the new members, instead of like, okay, here they are. What are you gonna do?
Let's team up. Right.
Yeah, let's team up. I mean, like, sometimes you kind of get this team up thing where if their personality, it's like, okay, the greater good. But like these characters are clearly like a duo, so you can't do that because it would just break up the duo. I mean, Green and Black.
Right. Especially since they're brothers. So like last episode, which was the part 1 to this one, Green like has this friend who takes care of, who like finds homes for abandoned animals on the street. And it might just be me, but I got the impression that Green might have strong feelings for her, but that aside, she's still his friend, and like she's the one that the monster is born from. And so of course, like here, Black goes to just like, alright, I'll just kill her then, and Green's like, no!
Oh, that's what's going on in this episode. I'm like, why are you just murdering people, Black? Like, what is going on? I like, it was interesting that it's like,
it's because
he would even take that.
If they die, the monster goes away and the problem is solved.
No. I got that, but like at first when I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's such a like kind of a darker tone. I was not expecting that. But as you've said, this is like his repeated pattern. I'm like, okay, now you're just being lazy, you fuck.
Well, like, so
but
like
the monster, like they're all poisoned.
Right. So here's like, okay, well, if I don't defeat the monster, then my brother dies, and I don't want that. So he goes to kill her, and this is where Green actually like takes an actual stand against him. Like, no, like you're no better than the people who would abandon that puppy, like out on the streets. Like you're just carelessly getting rid of lives.
Yeah. That was. I mean, now that you've kind of put it more in context, it does make it better. Kind of. I mean, I guess like it is kind of a fucked up situation where it's like, well, who do you choose, right? Like some stranger or family.
Right. Like.
So like it's a hard choice either way.
Right. Like in the past couple of episodes, Green is kind of like convinced by like, wait, let's try it a different way first. We don't have to resort to that yet. But here, it's like Green actually like takes a stance against Black. Like, no. I may be dying right now, but I'm not letting you do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's good because like it's giving Green more character development, and like clearly Black is going to have more stuff happen when we get like backstory, because like he seems like a character who's like carrying a lot of baggage. So like easily you can see him having plotline, but like, you know, Green is a lot harder because usually when you're like the supporting character of a duo, it's kind of harder to give them plotline. But like, you know, this has kind of been doing a decent enough job, showing him acting more independently.
This is basically like an introduction arc for them, and it is doing incredibly good. And up till now, like, so Red's mech is like the base for the Zords, but like he could combine a couple of them together. So like for a while he was doing blue and pink at the same time, or like he did green, or like he did just black last episode. This episode we get all 5 together.
Oh, that's like a new thing. I thought that was like just their standard combination.
It is now, but yeah, this is a new thing.
Oh, that's cool.
In fact, it might not even be standard yet because Black and Green still aren't officially a part of the team.
They're like, fuck that. That took too much CGI budget. Really.
Well, like what's cool about the one of the finishers that they use here is that it shows like the projections of Red and only using one of the other colored mechs. And so, like, we saw only black like last episode, but here we see only blue as well. We see only pink as well. Like, we didn't see those before. They didn't exist. Here, we see them for the first time in a finisher.
Oh, okay. I thought that was just, like, the standard operating thing. I'm like, that's cool, but it's weird that they're just floating there. But I'm like, alright.
It's like, nah,
I guess that's just how this...
That's new for this episode. So, like, you haven't had to build up to it, but, like, that is actually, like, a milestone right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, if they actually have it, like, one of the cool things about Go Busters is, like, mech fight and normal fight going at the same time. If they kind of do something
Beast
like that,
Morphers is doing really well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I heard it's actually really good. You guys are having real problems getting the scheduling down, though, right? Because it seems like half the time everybody's too busy to do the damn thing. Like, I feel like doing 3 damn... Or actually, no, it's going to be like fucking 4 podcasts this week, right?
Yeah. Like,
this is insane.
My problem, so that week that we just straight up missed the podcast, all of us forgot on the same day for different reasons.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like, this is a goddamn like parody episode or something. I'm like,
Like,
what is
so
happening?
to explain what happened, like, so I play Dungeons and Dragons with friends, and we meet on Thursdays. And that particular Thursday, we weren't meeting, and I thought, oh, my schedule is open. Hey, I'll go see Captain Marvel. So that's what I
Right.
was doing, and it wasn't even until on the way back, like an hour after the podcast should have started, that I realized, shit.
Right, and then like Vashi, I think was playing something, and
He
like
was
Drago
playing
had something.
Yeah, he was playing a video game. I forget which one, and he just got so immersed into it.
Oh, he was playing Destiny 2, I think.
Right, and
Um,
like Drago overslept because he's in a different time zone and it's morning for him. And King had
she had
family
like a
issues.
family dinner thing
Yeah,
or something.
she had family obligations.
Right, and then I don't know what Decade did, but um, right, and it was oh no, like Decade also had like family or something. But the point is like it was this ridiculous thing, and then like I log in, and I'm like, well, I don't have a podcast today. Let's see if they did it. I log in, and like everybody's like, oh shit, I forgot this existed. I'm like, oh my god, really? so this is insanity. Yeah, we're doing like 4 of these a week. I'm like, I feel like we should just
Well,
fucking combine them, put them on Sunday or something.
uh,
Um,
so I'll have to see what my new schedule is, because the manager at work who was doing the schedule quit. And
uh,
so the general manager has been doing it for now, and she's just kind of been copying what he had before. But now a new manager is going to be doing the schedule, so I'll have to see like what she puts me down for.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, like, I feel like, um, yeah, like I was talking to someone. They're like, yeah, just put like all 3 of the writers shit on one day. I'm like, do you have any idea the insanity that that would be? It's like, oh yes, let's talk about Zio, this one episode, and this whole miniseries, and this other miniseries, and
Right.
let's try to do that
Uh,
in an hour. I'm like, this is insanity.
Wait,
I
like
mean, like,
we may be late to the party, but waiting to do podcasts on the rider times when they were done, I think would be the best decision for us as a group to like organize it.
yeah, I mean, I feel like we should do like more of a, I don't know, maybe like we had to combine some of these where it's like no, I was talking to them. They're like, just do the Sentai and Power Rangers together. I'm like, have you lost your mind? There's basically no crossover. They're like seasons apart, right? So it's
They're
like almost 2 entirely different fan bases.
like
But
they're
then I was thinking
different
like,
shows. Like I understand the reasoning behind just do those together, but at the same time, like there's no real reason to do them together.
right? I'm like, it's not like this is the Arrowverse or something where you can literally string like 4 shows together because like the fan base basically watches all of them kind of, and like they generally know what the hell's going on enough in most of them, so they would care. But I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we should try like an I don't know, Sunday or Saturday. Or actually, I do have most days off, but it's just like I don't have days free. I have like nights free. Um,
Uh,
so it's like we should try like more of like a combined thing, so that way like we're not wasting like 4 days of people's like free time trying to organize it because like that never works out.
well, the good thing about recording these is that people can listen to them when it's convenient for them. They don't have to
No,
jump
no,
in
no.
live.
That's fine. I'm talking about us.
Oh, us.
Like
Oh, yeah.
showing. Yeah, I mean they could listen to whenever because we tend to do it earlier than the final subs are out anyway, right? Because
Well,
we get
for
like
TV Nihon, but like other subgroups get them out sooner.
okay, yeah. Well, I mean the writer one, TVN seems to be the. Oh, that's not true. Fucking
Yeah.
Japan just put out a review, so he
Uh,
must be getting it from somewhere. No, that was last episode. So TVN still is the fact.
I know
This
that
is weird.
where King watches them, like they're lesser quality subs, but they're good enough, and they're usually like out the next day.
Oof, okay. Um. Yeah, I feel like okay, people. episode was good. We're just talking shop here,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
stick
This
around
was
if you
more
want.
of a catching Zero up on Ryusoulger than a podcast for this episode itself. But we pretty much got the highlights of this episode down. Ko being a badass and ripping the fang out of the monster. Black like going through the moral dilemma of killing this one girl to save his brother, but his brother doesn't want him to kill that girl, and how awesome the mech is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with Ryan. That's pretty much exactly my thoughts on this.
Like, and we talked about like the powers a bit. Like, we got all the important stuff across. It was a bit
Yeah.
rambly, but
Right. I mean, like, don't cut it off yet. That's why I'm just talking in the podcast because, like, we have like what, like 53 subs now, which is kind of cool because we got like 4 new ones.
Hey.
I'm thinking it's because of the freaking Power Rangers one, but I'm not sure.
Hey, topical.
Yeah, exactly, which is cool. But then again, like, if you're listening to this, like, what would do you want us to do, like, separate podcasts for like Rider and Sentai and Power Rangers and like any of the specials that come out, or would you want like one day, but like a 2 hour thing, or like a however long it takes to get like all the shows done in one, like low.
Yeah, we'll like if you have
It's
suggestions.
just scheduling issue.
Yeah, if you have suggestions, we'll like discuss them. But really, we'd have to like, if we were to like combine podcasts together, it comes down to settling on a day and time that works for everyone.
Okay, now it's back up again.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So day and time. Mostly, also, if you're listening to this and like you're interested in doing podcasts with us, then like whatever. Even if you just want to do it once, like just let us know. Hell, I mean, you can go on you can leave a comment on the YouTube page, or go to the channel's homepage and then just click one of the links is like our ask or messenger, whatever, which goes to like our Tumblr ask page. But basically, you can just be like, hey, I'm interested. Send me a link to your Discord or whatever. If you just want to try it, like, we're always happy to have more people talk. I mean, like, fuck, it's me and Ryan. We managed to piss out like an hour and 17 minutes and nothing. So, like, quality can only go up with more people. But yeah, besides that, it seemed like a decent Sentai episode. Like, I couldn't really tell too much because, like, it's a two-parter and I missed part one. Interesting mix, like darker than I thought it would be. But that just seems like what Black's character is. And then like the mech fights look really interesting. A lot more, a lot more action. Because last couple seasons, well, maybe not last couple seasons, but like the last time I saw it, it was a little more static. So that's cool. Like, hopefully the budget holds out and they keep up the quality.
Yeah, like not only was this like a great episode overall, like the show is doing a lot better than I was kind of expecting when I saw all the like the Kishiryu like copied gimmicks. It's still not quite the night themed show I was hoping for, but standing on its own 2 feet, it is doing a great job. And I know you're not normally a Sentai guy, but I can easily recommend at least giving this one a chance and seeing if it's your cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed interesting enough, especially what you told me about the other episodes, that I'll try to catch up.
Yeah, like
maybe I'll be on the next week one, but we'll see.
Like, you might not notice it at first, but maybe if you watch them all together, like, you'll see that like there's been just an ongoing narrative since the first episode.
That's what I was planning to do this weekend. Well, first I gotta catch up on the Rider miniseries. Like we got
Yeah,
two of those to
like
do.
there's a good chance I watch those like the morning before the podcast if we end up doing it this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's freaking better than me. It's like, oh, what? We have a podcast? Yes, give me an hour extra before it's supposed to
Yeah.
start. And I'll skim through it, and then we'll do this hour-long nonsense. It's like, my God, if you're thinking we have our shit together after 200 episodes, you have no idea. We have nothing.
No joke though, I've done that before. Get home from work and have just enough time to watch the episode right before the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why I don't do notes, because, like, one, beat by beat takes forever, and it kind of tends to limit some conversations, because...
Which is why, like, we've been...
Like,
oh, go on.
Yeah. No, which is why I like it more. It's like, hey, what did you think of this part? Which, you know, normally... Because we've been doing this long enough, we know when to catch ourselves when we've gone, like, way off the rails.
Right, and I've been, like... I've been working on speeding up the notes a bit by doing things more about, like, here's a general overview of the scene, what were your thoughts about that scene? And, like, sometimes I'll even, like, do them out of order. Like, hey, these two scenes connect to each other, but, you know, there's a different thing going on in between them. Like, let's talk about that after. Like, let's talk about those two scenes that are together first.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually why I like doing... Whenever I have to do it, I just do it by character in Rider, because, like, Rider plots tend to be more like, okay, what is this character's plot line, and where is it in the grand scheme of themes now? So, like, you can do that with Rider. Sentai a little less, because it tends to be more plot-focused.
Right, whenever we do a Rider movie, I just straight up go, alright, let's talk about the characters, and then at the end it's like, alright, general overview of what the plot was.
Yeah, pretty much, right. Especially, like, any crossover or anything, it's like, who cares? Right. I mean, like, it's just an excuse to get the characters together for the most part.
Like, I really like what we did with the first Heisei Generations movie, and that just makes it more upsetting that we lost the footage.
Oh God, yeah, that was so fucked up. That was such a good podcast here. You know what's even more upsetting than that? Our highest rated one is the fucking Amazons one. The Amazons movie.
Huh.
Right? That is a train wreck of a podcast. That has like 800 plus views.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know how that happened. Right? Right. The best part about that is, like, how is that streamed? Alright.
Wait, okay, hold on. When did that movie come out relative to Amazon's getting released on Amazon?
Like a month or two later.
Okay.
That we got the subs for it. I mean, the actual movie came out before, but, like, the subs came out, like, a month or two after.
So I'm wondering if it's, like, hey, like, a lot of people... Like, hey, this new type of show from Japan is released on Amazon. Like, I wonder if a lot of people, like, got into it and maybe, like, started looking stuff on YouTube and found your movie podcast.
Yeah, maybe. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking more like people, like, oh, they were looking for the movie and they saw it's like, oh, it's like an hour long. So they thought, I'm like, it clearly says podcast, people.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, getting in, like, I tend to put the podcasting at the end because I'm like, alright, if I put the podcast stream number of the episode and then, like, the thing, you're never going to actually see the episode number we're on. So I tend to put that in the beginning and then put our podcast stuff at the end because, like, it gets cut off, but it's, like, clearly the thumbnail says it's the podcast, but whatever.
So you how you can tell is, like, I believe you can check, like, the view length, like, I think you can tell, like, where people cut out. If you check the statistics.
I can go back and check, but, like, the reason why that's really annoying is because that's the podcast where nothing fucking worked. So, like, mine and Vashi's, like, computers was Vashi there? Or Decade or something? No, Decade was there. Like, I was trying to stream it and, like, nothing was working, and then at the end I'm like, you know what, fuck it. Right, put Discord on one phone, take another phone, put YouTube Live on, go. So it's literally Discord on speaker on one phone and YouTube Live on the other one, streaming it to
So instead of, like, having two monitors, I'm just imagining you having, like, two phones set up in front of you.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like two phones sitting side by side. It's fucking nonsense. That's why the audio is so shit, and like the visuals are just grayed out um because whenever you do YouTube Live, it takes a camera feed, but like I taped one of my like I, I put tape in front of like my front facing camera for uh one of my phones because I'm like I'm not dealing with this shit if I have to do it. But the problem is like the tape is too strong because it's like freaking electrical tape, or actually no, it's like white plumber's tape. Um, so like if I start peeling it, it's peeling off the damn screen protector. So I'm like, fuck it, I don't even use the front camera, so it's on there permanently now. Um, but that's why the footage is like this gray mess. Because like it's seeing like the camera is just seeing tape, and the audio is shit because it's like it's speaker from one phone over YouTube Live on the other. It's nonsense, and that has the most views. It's ridiculous. God damn it. I mean, right now I'm just talking to you over my phone, and you're just using your computer with Discord, feeding it through OBS, and that's coming through YouTube, and I'm monitoring the footage on my PC. Yeah, this is nonsense. So if you're ever wondering what kind of like, it's not hard to stream people, but like redundancies help. That's why we have all this. Um,
Uh,
but
all right.
but we're like way off track and nobody's watching, which is fine. Uh, anyway, yeah. See you
So
guys tomorrow, I guess, for the
yeah.
writer one.
Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more Kamen Rider Zio. Uh, actually excited to talk about Agito tomorrow. Uh, we'll be back on Thursday for more Power Rangers Beast Morphers. I still haven't seen this week's episode, so here's hoping.
I
And
mean, I
then
haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't even seen the writer one, but like I'll probably watch it right now.
Um, and then we are looking at doing a special podcast this Saturday for the Rider Time Ryuki and Shinobi specials. We might do one podcast to cover both of them. We're not entirely sure right now. So we should have more of an answer for you tomorrow. See you next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time.